Welcome to Atlanta, Georgia, home to the 2022 Atlanta Open here at Atlantic Station. This has been a phenomenal location. 3 days in the heat, the sunshine, and epic volleyball have taken place, all coming down to this final moment, the men's final. It's Theo Brunner and Schalk against the first-time finalists. Yes, Miles Partain and Paul Lotman. Hi, everyone. I'm Cameron Irwin alongside Olympic gold medalist Dane Blanton. And Dane, walk me through this one because first time in a final, you got to have a few nerves, right?
Well, you have a lot of nerves, but remember Miles Partain and Paul Lotman, they went straight through the winner's bracket. So this is only their 5th match, whereas on the other side of the net, it will be the 7th match for Brunner and Schalk. So that could play a difference.
Oh yeah, talking about the heat, it has been about 90 to 100 degrees for 3 straight days. So let's take a look at your number 6 seed, who have had some pretty solid competition and battles here in Atlanta.
Yeah, but they've never been to a final, so this is going to be something new territory. They may be rested, but new territory. And Miles Partain, the young gun, he is the future of United States volleyball for sure. He's looking to get his first victory. On the other side of the net, Theo Brunner and Schalk, they won in Hermosa a few weeks ago. They are the number 1 seed. This is their 7th AVP tournament, and I'll tell you what, they are playing some high-level, consistent volleyball.
Oh yes, they have been playing some high-level volleyball. Can they continue the trek and find the final and the championship here in Atlanta? That's going to be the question. We've got the 3rd member of our crew down on the sand, Mark Sherman, with our intros.
You know what? I know we got one big match to go. It is time for the finals, or it is almost time for the finals. Before we meet the finalists here in Atlanta, ladies and gentlemen at home and at here in Atlanta, there's a guy who just played in his 152nd AVP tournament. He started in 2003. He got his first win in 2005 in Austin with his good buddy, Phil Dahlhauser. Now, after Nick and Phil won in Austin, they played a little bit more. They broke up. It was sad. Everybody was sad. Eventually, you know what? They found their way back to each other. They went to 2 Olympic Games with each other. Now, this guy I'm talking about, who is an assistant coach at Florida State with their beach volleyball program, coaching with his wife, ladies and gentlemen. Now, he's got 16 wins in his AVP career. Yes, absolutely. Let me get a round of applause for that. 16 wins in his AVP career. Most of those coming after the ripe old age of 35. 3 times he led the tour in wins in 2017, 18, and 20. He's a guy who kept getting better and better with age, but you know what? It's not really all those wins that everybody is going to remember Nick Lou Senna for, isn't it? No. It is the energy, it is the passion that he brought to the court every single time he played. And you know what? If you didn't see him play in the 2000s and the early 2010s, I am sorry, because as fun as he is to watch right now, his energy was just here. And it was awesome, and it has been awesome the entire career. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the Greyhound. He is the quick one out of Davie, Florida. He is the legend, Nick Lou Senna. Now, as much as we love Nick, and as cool of a guy as Nick is, there's one guy who might have a little, maybe some crap to talk about. Like, he's his friend, but he also knows the goofy parts, don't you? Yeah, Phil Dahlhauser, ladies and gentlemen, best friend of Nick Lou Senna, went to the Olympics 2 times with his buddy Nick. So, Phil, tell us what Nick was really like.
Thank you. I'm assuming you want me to say something nice about this fool, but that's not going to happen. I just want to let you know a couple records Nick holds that you won't find on BVB info. Most red cards by any player. Congratulations. Most back-to-back red cards by any player. It's pretty crazy. Most feared player by refs. Yes. Most, even more importantly, he was the most fined player out of any player in beach volleyball history. He single-handedly kept AVP from filing bankruptcy, which is incredible. Incredible. So, what a career. What a career. You're the John McEnroe of beach volleyball. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, I'd like to keep him out here as long as possible because he is so uncomfortable. But I'll cut it short. You had a good run, dude. Everything comes to an end, unfortunately. That was a good run.
First of all, Paul, I'm sorry about last weekend. Forgive me, please. It's in my nature. Good luck. Thank you to my buddy Phil, best player to ever play beach volleyball, in my opinion. Not even close. Pretty fortunate enough to play with him for 10 years, so a lot of my career is hats off to him. I'm thankful to be out here. It's a blessing that I've been able to play beach volleyball for 20 years and avoid real life. I'm thankful for my wife. She's been, I don't even know where she is, but she's the real reason why I'm out here. You all get fired up for an exciting final. Theo guaranteed a win in the corner over there. No one heard, but he said, I got this, I guaranteed. 6 stuff blocks on Miles, that's what he said. And he would never let me down. Miles, don't let him talk to you like that. You know that? Enjoy this final. Thank you, Atlanta. Let's get fired up for a pretty exciting final. Thank you.
Keep it going one more time for Nick Lucena. And now, Atlanta, let me see those hands in the air because it is time for the men's finals here in Atlanta. Come on. And let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yes, one more match. We have fought through some adversity together, haven't we? Oh, yes, we had to take a couple breaks. We had to take a couple breaks, but you know what? The blue skies have blessed us with a glorious finals weather, haven't they? And now, Atlanta, one more match. Let's do this, baby. Let's meet the teams. And first up, we are going to talk to these guys who have just been on the cusp, haven't they? Oh, yes, semifinal, 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 and then again a semifinal. But this time they got that job done. But they don't think their job's done yet, do they? No, it is not. You are now in your first finals, young man, of a long, long career here on the AVP. Out of Pacific Palisades, he is the kid who does things that you only dream of doing on a volleyball court. He is Miles Partain. And his partner, he got a call from Miles a few years ago, and you know what? He was really excited. He's like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? I get to take this kid who qualified for his first AVP at 15 years old. Now I get to mentor him and play with him on the beach. Yes, you do, Paul. Yes, you have done, and you have mentored so well, and we have seen you grow in the beach as well. We saw him on the indoor side at the Olympic Games representing Team USA. He has switched to the no shoes of the beach volleyball court, and we are so glad you did. It's Paul Lotman. And their opponents looking for 2 wins in the last 3 tournaments. And this first guy, an absolute blocking machine. He seals the net better than anybody on the AVP tour. And the hair and the hat, you just look and you're getting a little bit buffer too, Theo. It's showing, it's just fat, sure. Ladies and gentlemen, out of Ridgefield, Connecticut, the one guy you don't want to see on the other side of the net, it's Theo Brunner. And his partner, my good friend out of Hermosa Beach, California. When I heard that this Canadian Olympian was going to take a couple years off of the FIVB, come down to California, change the Canada to the USA, I was like, oh, you know what? The USA is lucky. Yes, they are, ladies and gentlemen. He is an absolute beast behind the block of Theo. Let me hear it for one of the nicest guys on tour out of Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. It's Schalk.
First time finalist down on the sand, Miles Partain, just 20 years young, playing alongside Paul Lotman. So fun to get to talk to those two and talk about the evolution of their partnership. We'll get into that. But on the other side, a little bit of a buzzsaw, the #1 seed. You got Theo Brunner and Schalk, Cameron Irwin and Dane Blanton up here in the booth. You got to watch out for the option play, Dane. This is the men's final. Slap back, asserting himself, jump set to get us started as Lotman just misses wide.
What you're seeing right out of the gate is Theo Brunner, the ability to put up a huge block, take away a lot of space. That's what Lotman and Partain are going to have to deal with and get around.
You go at Partain to start in the option play. And one of the things that you have to pay attention to in this is where the side-out pressure goes. Do they go at Miles Partain and try and eliminate the option play and force Lotman to side out?
Yes! Oh, come on.
You got Partain in the backcourt, the setter from UCLA, the 2022 MPSF Player of the Year as a setter. That's something to be very proud of.
And as a sophomore, right?
It's crazy. Originally out of Pacific Palisades, California. Finding the deep court. Theo Brunner and Schalk.
Yeah, a couple of sketchy passes by Brunner and Schalk, way off the net, but they get out of trouble right there. It's going to be important for them to stay in system, pass that ball, and steady.
Option.
Cameron, you alluded to it. This team loves the option play, and they're very effective at it. And when you have a left-hander on the right side, it allows both players to option with their strong arms. So look out for that.
Seen a couple already. These two teams having met 3 times this season on the AVP tour. 2 of the 3 going the direction of Brunner and Schalk, including the last, which was the semifinals just a week ago. I'm speechless, Dane.
That was impressive. That's a good look at Theo Brunner and Miles Partain. A very quick arm swing. Thought that he had that cross court open, tried to challenge, and sometimes that's what happens. Straight down.
Still a little bit of shock from that one. Theo Brunner on the board with a block.
So nice, so smooth by Paul Lotman. Looking like he's gonna set that ball, faking a couple times during that move, and then just kind of rolling it over.
Miles Partain from the right side. And Lotman trying to get as high as possible. The Olympian from 2012 on the indoor side of the game, now residing in San Diego, California. Jump set again. That's so hard to do on the beach. Rolling that up for the lefty. And a deep middle. You say this kid's the future, and that's exactly why.
You know, in our women's final, we saw a lot of creativity. We're starting to see that right now as well. Look at the side. Look at the jump, the extension by Miles Partain. And he's so deceptive. He can jump up there on 2 and then still set that ball with the jump set.
Nice lineup there for Paul Lotman. They put him as 6'7", as is the opposing block, Theo Brunner. Continuing to work off the edges of the block is Theo.
It's interesting, Theo is the choice for Lotman and Partain so far. That's their game plan, to go to Theo, try to get maybe a couple blocks on him, maybe run down some of his shots. We have seen him air across court already. So that jump set.
Again, adding the pressure from that second contact. Is he gonna jump set it? Is he gonna hit with his left hand? That's just mean.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what that does. It gives the blocker something to think about. Is this guy going to hit, or is he gonna set? And if he's gonna set, you're gonna have to land, move laterally, and get up and block.
Well, and you gotta imagine too, Paul Lotman enjoys that faster tempo set coming from the indoor game as well. From his off shoulder. Miles Partain and Paul Lotman. They alluded to it, or at least Mark Sherman did in the intros. They have made 4 straight semifinals. So they finished with a 3rd in. Let's bring it on back. Started in New Orleans, then it was in Denver, then Hermosa, and then Fort Lauderdale just a week ago. Now finding themselves in a final here in Atlanta. Let's look at their road.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, you bring that up as Miles kind of squeaks that ball in between the block and the net. The fact that Lotman and Partain, they're the real deal. I mean, consistently making it to the semifinals, knocking on the door. It's just a matter of time before both of these players get their first AVP win. It might be today.
Oh, Brunner getting a little lucky there.
Great set by Schalk, though. Falling back, he spun that ball up to the net just close enough. But what we've seen early in this set is some errant passes by Theo Brunner off the net. But they've gotten out of trouble the majority of the time. But can they sustain that throughout?
Yeah, they've spoken about their pass in set, wanting to get about 10% better in that category here in the second half of the season. They have won a title, as we've mentioned. It was in Hermosa this year. There's a look at their journey to the final. They took a loss to Evan Corey and Billy Kolinsky in the second round, and then worked through some pretty solid teams. Drost Evans, Brewster, and Friend, not to mention Benish and Lucena. That was earlier today. That 1 set to 28 as we were catching up. I'll let you take it, Dane.
Wow. After I picked my jaw up off of the ground, Paul Lotman, look at him, motor, and then he gets this ball all the way up to the net. That's how you do it when you have a guy like Miles Partain. Give him an opportunity and see what he can do. Miles Partain, just 20 years of age. And you know what's so impressive about Miles is he's so businesslike. He's always filming every game. The first thing he does is he'll go back and get his camera. And I'm sure as soon as he gets back to the hotel, He's looking at game tape, making adjustments. He is a student of the game, and it is no mistake that he's in this position.
Will be interesting. If they take this final, we'll have to take some bets and see if the first thing he does is hold the trophy and then go straight to his camera. Usually he's skateboarding to and from the hotel to the event site as well, which I did see him rolling in and out this morning.
Yeah, I saw
my
that
walk
as
in.
well. He was skateboarding uphill.
There's a look at some of the numbers for Lotman. You get to see their verticals as well as the total number of jumps they've taken, including, obviously, the serve, as you just saw 19 come up on the screen, as well as the distance they have traveled. Now, that's also important to note as they're in this technical timeout coming off a Fort Lauderdale event just a week ago. Another 3 days of grueling heat. In terms of attrition, these teams have faced in just 2 weeks played. Here we are in set number 1 in the technical timeout. Let's take a look at Brunner and Schalk versus Lotman and Partain. Just 1 point of difference on the scoreboard, but a few different numbers on screen. Dane Bland.
Yeah, you thought Brunner was going to get off to a fast start after that huge stuff block, but that's the only block he's had thus far. And the hitting percentage is going to go to Lotman and Partain, who have been much more efficient so far. So this one's going to be really close. I expect this to come down to, you know, just a 2-point ball game at the end of the sets and possibly a 3-setter. But very equal teams. I think you mentioned earlier that they've played each other 3 previous times, and it's been Brunner and Schalk winning twice, but very close ones.
Yeah, and it's wild to think about that last meeting between these two was just a few days ago in the semifinal in Fort Lauderdale. It went just 2 sets played. Theo Brunner and Kame Schalk walking away victorious there. The set scores are interesting to me, though. 13-21, 16-21. We're already seeing a different look here as you take a look at our men's champions on the 2022 AVP Tour. Hermosa Beach, Theo Brunner and Kame Schalk. The reason they're highlighting, well, they're on the sand now. We have yet to have repeat champions in terms of partnerships on the season. Phil Dahlhauser, the only to do so individually in 2022. Just mentioned Phil Dahlhauser and Casey Patterson. Well, these two, they took them down twice in this tournament alone, Dane Bland.
Now that is not easy to do, taking down Phil Dahlhauser, who has 2 championships already this season and playing fantastic ball. But Partain and Lotman, wow, have they stepped up their game. They've only played 4 matches. This is being their 5th, whereas on the other side of the net, this will be the 7th match for Brunner and Schalk. And we want to keep an eye on that fatigue. It's been hot. It's a little cooler today, about 10 degrees cooler in the mid-80s, but the humidity's still there. But all 4 of these athletes conditioned and ready to go.
High over the top for Miles Partain. Goes the lollipop serve. Theo takes it. Cross body.
Yeah, I think he was trying to do a short serve there. Didn't really work out. That's the risk of a short serve. If it's not short enough, it's a very easily passed ball.
That's a tough serve. Second chance.
Miles trying to take a little too sharp of an angle on that one. It ends up into the net, but we've seen him bounce some of those cross-court hits before.
12 all now. There's the short serve. Came with a nice overhead dig. Open net, and he makes them pay.
What I really liked about that play is Brunner spinning that ball up into a hittable position for Kame Schalk. And Schalk doing the rest, getting the ball to the sand.
So from the technical timeout, it's been Brunner and Schalk with the momentum and now with the advantage.
There's a good look at Theo Brunner, played for UC Santa Barbara, was an AVCA first-team All-American, and always known as an intimidating force up at the net.
Both him and Kame Schalk have a little bit more of a stoic approach to their play. Methodical, to say the least.
Didn't you tell me that they try to kind of model their game after like a Tim Duncan?
Yes.
All about the fundamentals, right?
They will tell you that they've been called boring to watch, but I will tell you they are anything but. If you watch and you know the nuances of volleyball, it's so fun to see their approach and how methodical they go about their business. They've been called the robots out here.
Yeah, from a personality standpoint, they don't show a lot of personality on the court, but I think this year they've played with a lot of fire and a lot of passion, and, you know, that's entertaining. That's exciting.
So they have plenty of momentum here as they hope to carry it on to the rest of the Gold Series events as well as the Phoenix Championships. As you see the rest of our 2022 schedule, we head to Manhattan Beach next in just a few short days. We can't wait to be in the Granddaddy. Oh yeah, you get enshrined on the pier if you win the Manhattan Beach Open. That's a long legacy and a very solid tradition in the sporting world. Then we head to Chicago. Speaking of history in the sports world, that place has plenty of it as well. We'll close out in Phoenix. Phoenix, of course, just 6 teams from the men's side as well as 6 teams from the women's side, based off your finishes in Gold Series events. Slap back, block back. Miles up and over. Was there a net violation? There was. Theo Brunner called in the net. So this is instead going to be, I believe, a 15-13 switch.
This is a crazy rally by Theo Brunner. Not 1, but 2 blocks, and then soft blocks that for 3. And is able to get that ball to fall, but he unfortunately touches the net just there. Kind of a weird, goofy play. But wow, Theo Brunner not being tricked at all.
Short ball. Out of the middle, tight. And he lets it go. Score was 15-13, make it 14-15 now.
Partain with a whip of an arm. That left hand makes him so effective as a setter indoor at UCLA.
Nice pass from Brunner. Miles looking at his platform again, taking one hand and putting the other next to it, thinking maybe that required both.
Impressed so far with Theo Brunner. He's getting served just about every ball. He's full-time blocking, running to the net, and he's having to deal with these option plays, jump sets, and he's doing a fantastic job of reading.
And gonna be called for a double. Paul Lotman's got his hands on his hips.
It was interesting, that ball didn't come out terribly bad in terms of the motion, but he did take one hand, contact it first, and then the other, it seemed like, and that's what the referee saw. He had a perfect view, the head referee, but it's a little bit of a tight call.
I don't don't know on that one.
The referee kind of put himself in a position now.
Yeah.
He's got to keep that standard.
And talking to Cam and Theo actually this week, they talked about how just kind of across the board, both domestically and internationally, how the setting has gotten tightened up quite a bit.
I think internationally they're calling it if you hold that ball longer than you should, and I think that has been getting looser and looser, so the ball has to come out a little quicker.
Trying to encourage him to churn his feet. He was on the move, but that one well out of reach.
Brunner and Schalk doing a great job right there. Theo kind of passing the ball a little left that time, and Schalk having to go over his head with a back bump set. But they are getting out of trouble.
To your point, Theo Brunner seen the bulk of the attacks, 11 total attempts. And Paul Lotman took a whack at that ball.
It was a great idea. There just wasn't a lot of real estate cross court. Lotman has the ability to hit that one, but level of difficulty right there was off the charts.
Quick snap. It was fun. I got a chance to catch up with Lotman and Partain, and specifically about this play right here, the option for Miles Partain. I said, is he choosing to do this? Is this a set play? How does this come about? And he said, well, it's been fun because he used to kind of decide when he was going to do it, but the evolution of him now is the fact that he actually takes off and decides mid-air whether he's going to set that ball or actually take a swing at it. Pretty phenomenal to have to do that. Think of the body control, the balance required as a tough serve comes from Lotman. Tried to go more aggressive from the service line. They're going to need some more of that to get Theo Brunner and Cam Schalk out of system.
Brunner and Schalk just kind of quietly going about their business as we talked about, and all of a sudden they have a 4-point lead and they have set point just like that.
And another. Theo Brunner went straight to the outside.
Yeah, you notice that? Theo said, hey, I am not going to deal with this. I am going to guess that you're setting the ball, because sometimes you can't be in two places at once. You have to pick, and Theo's been doing a pretty good job with that.
Still set point for the #1 seed. Set #1 goes to Brunner and Schalk. Methodical, robotic, but winning nonetheless. The #1 seed takes set #1.
Get ready for a whole new wave of White Claw. New full flavor White Claw Surf. Sensational refreshment for a taste like no other.
We all know it's a good idea to recycle. But what happens to that aluminum can or all that paper after you put it in the recycling bin? Where does it go? What does it become in its second life? See how WM is always working for a sustainable tomorrow at WM.com/stories.
It's the choices we make that define us.
Tryon Trevor is coming off a tough, heartbreaking loss.
And ultimately, the enemy is within. Some people want it, some wish for it, but others make it happen.
Tryon Trevor is super lethal, bringing fire and passion to the court.
How will you take charge?
Another day brighter now that we've got each other.
21-17 was your first set score here in the men's final in the Atlanta Open on the AVP Tour. The #1 seed, Brunner and Schalk, facing off against Lotman and Partain. Cameron Irwin alongside Dane Blanton. And Dane, the numbers on the screen, well, they typically tell a story, as do these.
Yeah, the errors pop out at me on this one. Lotman and Partain, 6 errors to the clean play of Brunner and Schalk with just 2. They also hit 529 as opposed to 276. That's a big discrepancy in terms of the hitting percentage. They were smooth, and you know they took care of business. There's a look at the men's champion so far this year. Noted that we have not had a 2-time winner. We haven't had a 2-time player in Phil Dahlhauser with 2 different partners, but Theo Brunner and Kame Schalk trying to be the first 2-time winners, and wouldn't that be special for them to pull it off here in the first Gold Series event?
Well, and it's interesting, too. You look through the history books in terms of the AVP, and of the last 35 title matches, 31 of them were won by the team that won the first set. So Lotman and Partain are going to have to fight against history to find a victory here. Looking for their first title in their careers, as well as their partnership. Brunner and Schalk, well, they also have a few titles to their name already, not only on the 2022 tour, but Theo Brunner playing in his 60th event, having won 4 times before with 4 different partners. Miles Partain and Paul Lotman. Mike Plachek, also a former AVP pro. We've been working with him down in San Diego. There's a few nuggets on Miles Partain. We mentioned just 20 years old. You can see the accomplishments for him, though.
0 for 4 versus the #1 seed, trying to reverse that for sure. He was a giant killer this weekend, taking down Phil Dahlhauser twice, but facing the #1 seed here in Brunner and Schalk.
Partain had to climb 3 stories to get that kill.
Miles Partain hits that ball at a very high point, which is so important. You don't see him get blocked very often, only if he tries to hit that low bounce ball.
That crossbody swing coming in clutch yet again. A little bit grimy, but it's working.
Kill's a kill, right? Tooling it off the block, a roll shot, a bounce into the stands. Did see one of the most impressive hits of all time yesterday with Taylor Sander, hitting the ball 8 rows into the crowd with crazy bounce on it.
Yeah, that thing was phenomenal. Perfectly placed from Miles Partain.
You like how he goes deep to the corner on that one. Miles Partain has all the shots. He could try to bounce this ball, but it's much better deep. Much harder to dig as well.
Partain and Lotman playing in their 10th event together, at least on the AVP Tour. Nice block. Now, I remember watching these two, I think back to Hermosa Beach. And when they needed plays, they came up defensively. Some blocks, very timely from Paul Lotman, or whether it was the dig in transition. So look for them to make some plays here in set number 2 in that regard. If they want to change the story. There's another one. And he's going to call that.
No argument this time, I don't believe, by Paul Lotman.
The fans don't like it, though, I'll tell you that much. And Paul's giving him the thumbs up, actually, saying, yeah, this one was a double. In agreeance. Big block. Blocking, not just about taking up space or getting the hard-driven ball. So much about timing. Watch the load. Perfectly done, Theo Brunner.
You see how he pikes at the right position, pointing those toes and kind of trying to reach over the net as far as possible.
Yes.
You know, when you're blocking, it's not about how high you get as much as getting over. Of course, you want a little bit of both, but you want to press over to the other side, take away all the angles that you can.
3-4 on the first side switch. Tries to go with the lefty and just gets off the sand a hair too early.
Yeah, he needed to catch that ball just a few milliseconds earlier. It just dropped and he couldn't get it over. Otherwise, he would have had a little trickler.
Making sure we have the score correct.
I'll tell you what, Brunner was arguing, and it was 5-4 on the board in favor of him.
You know, showing a little sportsmanship. The fans get engaged, making sure they're keeping track of it as well. Man, this is where the game is going, though, right? The evolution of the tempo offense. We see it so much on the AVP Tour, but even more so internationally. Moving the ball around, quick paces, the jump sets. The athleticism just continues to grow through this sport. 37 total jumps for Miles Partain. You see the vert there.
Came Schalk, really nice, getting inside and opening up his angles after that pass was to the left. Interesting thing, on the option that Miles Partain and Paul Lotman like to do, who's better at optioning on the second contact, or who's harder to deal with is the question. And I don't know, I think I might serve Miles so that Lotman can go on too. It seems like Miles really comfortable with jumping on that second contact, being the setter that he is.
Well, and you just think of the dynamicness of Miles' ability to jump set as well, right? So it's like that extra added level. I think in terms of the option play coming from Paul Lotman, you're seeing a little bit more of your traditional option play, right? Where it's either a jump and swing, and you're seeing the set either sit on the ground. And a net violation.
Well, I'll tell you what, either way, it's not an easy choice, right? Those aren't two good options.
So what typically happens in terms of block and defense on the other side when the option play is coming? Block usually takes what? Defense usually takes what?
A lot of times the block and the defender will double up on an angle, on that power angle. And there's a double contact. So the ref really getting involved. I believe we've had 3 double contacts already. And so the standard has been set. A double contact is a judgment call by the head referee. And once he sets a standard, That's all you can really ask for as a player, that he keeps that standard throughout.
A little spin on that one. There's the option again. But it's interesting too, you have to take into account the heat, the sweat. It's not easy to control that ball right now with your hands.
No, it's not, and it's very humid, a little sticky. If you get a little moisture on the ball, it's going to cause that ball to slip a little bit in your hand. So you got to be a lot more deliberate when you're setting in these conditions.
Well, that, and it's already in the back of your brain, right? A couple have been called. It's getting tight. You have to imagine that's in the thought process every time these guys are going to set the ball. Asking for a net violation, but there was not one on Paul Lotman.
Beautiful soft block, puts the ball right on top of the net, Lotman, and then he just pokes it deep as the opposition is right at the net. He says, no, 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 didn't net, and I was not over.
10-5, Brunner and Schalk take a timeout.
Just don't reach too far. I think he's going to hit right in. Let's swing line. He's going the same or high line? Yeah, he's not going to swing line. I'm saying, like, don't reach too far and take it away from that. I think that you're on it.
Set to stats now on screen for Brunner, Schalk versus Lotman and Partain. And it's a little bit of a different story now, as there's a 5-point advantage for the number 6 seed. You see the attacks, kills, errors. Right now, it's all Lotman and Partain.
Yeah, everything's kind of flipped here in this second set. Having those errors, Lotman up at the net, really asserting himself a little more as a blocker.
Atlanta has come and shown up in full force for 3 days of volleyball in the heat in these bleachers. You gotta love the energy. Just adjacent to Atlantic Station. I mean, you gotta show up big time, right? It's a Gold Series. More money, more points, and fantastic volleyball. Theo Brunner. Heads up. Line judges put themselves in a bit of a precarious position at times. I don't think I'd want to be down there.
It's going to be up to Theo Brunner. Seems like they continue to pinpoint him.
Option, but it's dug by Miles. That's the key. You gotta get it to the net, and the kid gets it over.
Give a lot of credit to Paul Lotman throwing that ball up on top of the net from about 25 feet off. Puts it right on the spot for his partner to get his feet under the ball and kind of squeak it through.
That's a great touch.
And nobody.
You heard the me call, but Lotman goes, no, you're going to take the swing.
So great to hear that audible right there, and you know, audio doing such a great job of capturing the communication between the players is so important. You know, me, I got it, then nobody up. The simple things that you might take for granted, they're doing it at the top level in the world.
It's a great call. Every time the setter sets, they're turning those eyes, looking to the other side of the court, communicating exactly where the space is. Brunner and Schalk need to find a little bit of momentum here in set 2. That's not gonna help.
Looked like he tossed that ball a little bit to his left, had to reach past his midline to get it, and that's not where you want it.
crossbody swing. Something you have to pay attention to from Theo Brunner.
I think Theo started to recognize that they were doubling up. They're blocking in his angle, and Miles Partain defensively is waiting for him in the angle. And it's good recognition.
Yeah, I was going to say, they were even talking about it in the last time out. You could hear Paul Lotman saying, let's force him to try and have to hit that line shot.
There, you mentioned Mike Playcheck, former player, coaching them, and he's quite the coach now at Wave Beach down in San Diego, producing a lot of players.
There's a look at Scott Davenport working on 24th Street in the South Bay. That's where you can find him alongside Theo Brunner and Kame Schalk, as well as Sarah Sponsel and Therese Cannon. In the middle of set number 2, 7-14, the number 6 seed challenging that of the number 1 seed for the title in Atlanta. You can see their AVP match record 34-4. That's Paul Lotman and Miles Partain, but 9-11 when losing the first set. That's actually not a bad percentage in terms of coming back to win in 3 sets. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it really is. And on the other side of the net, AVP match record of 27-9, 75%. Brunner and Schalk have been on fire, and 23-3. We've seen some pretty crazy winning percentages after winning the first set. I think the best one we saw was like 31-1.
Yeah.
Forgot who that was, but when you win the first set, wow, do you have an advantage. It's a lot more comfortable, less pressure. You can kind of play loose. But right now, Lotman and Partain looking like they're going to even things out, and look like a third set may be inevitable.
It may be, but again, I want to go back to one more stat in regards to first set versus second set. And I've said it already once on the broadcast, and that's that of the last 35 AVP title matches, 31 have been won by the team taking the first set. Brunner and Schalk did that here. Back out of the technical timeout, Theo Brunner will have the serve as they trail by 7. High off the chest of Kame Schalk. He's up, high line is the call, and by he's up, he meant Kame Schalk. Found himself at the net.
Really important to tell your partner. Sometimes your partner's not going to see that blocker being there, and the fact that he said he's up, even though I don't think Lotman changed anything, he was going to bring it regardless.
Yeah, you bring a great point as you see the numbers for Miles Partain. 45 jumps, 28 is his highest. Quick tempo. Miles Partain nearly hitting that mile mark in terms of distance traveled. There it is.
What's the exact number, Cameron?
5,280.
Yeah, I knew that. I didn't, you're getting help from the producer.
I would never.
Oh, boy.
Ange would never help me like that. No.
She's in trouble. I'm going to reprimand her for that.
We have a great crew here in Atlanta, Echo Entertainment, bringing you all the fun. Also fun to note with those added stats in there, like the highest jump, we've talked about all weekend long, but again, if you're just joining us for the first time, you have to imagine that's in sand. You put these guys on the hard court and that number increases by several inches. My estimation would be anywhere from 7 to 8.
Theo Brunner going back cross court. You saw a few times he went down the line, and in one of those side out breaks in the team area, I heard Lotman saying he won't go back. He won't go back to that line. And so it's almost as if he heard him. Closing in, Miles Partain, 5,222 feet distance travel.
He's just going to start taking laps around the court. The ace serve, though, on the side of Brunner and Schalk. Have some room to work with, do Lotman and Partain. And another one called. And there it is for Miles, going the mile. So 12 to 16, another side switch. Still looking strong are Lotman and Partain, and it's been hot Atlanta since '96. Some Olympic gold medalists on the men's beach. Do I skip the 2000 or do I read it out loud? Eric Fenoy and the man up here in the booth. Give this guy some love, Mr. Dane Blanton, Olympic gold medalist. It all started back in '96 right here in Atlanta, though. You can see the list go on and on. Anders Mol and Christian Sorum picking up the 2020 Olympic gold medals. Phil Dahlhauser and Todd Rogers in 2008.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, Mol and Sorum still playing and competing. I don't know if Alisson from Brazil is still out there winning in 2016, but Phil winning way back in 08, still competing. And I remember that Olympics here in '96. The first one ever was a classic. Karch Karai, Kent Steffes, Mike Whitmarsh and Mike Dodd and St. John Smith and Carl Henkel. And of course, USA going 1-2. So that was pretty incredible, and it's only grown from there.
I believe Alisson is still playing internationally. There's a look at Brunner and Schalk, having played against a beach or indoor Olympian each time in those matchups. Nice stab by Schalk. Inches from the sand for Miles Partain. What does the defense look like? The pull and nice vision, Schalk.
Brunner and Schalk starting to chip away here at the lead, cutting it to 3 after this spectacular play, and then Lotman dropping, hands not ready just yet, and that deflects and goes out.
A foot fault called.
Don't see that very often. Sometimes you see a foot fault, but rarely is it called. Sometimes, because if you go under the sand, usually it's not a violation, or if the sand actually hits the line, it's not a violation. So it's kind of hard to see real time.
Oh, that's tight.
Yeah, Miles was into the net there as he pushed that one through, kind of with an open hand. I think he was anticipating simultaneous contact, but net nonetheless.
It's interesting watching Theo Brunner pass. He has a little bit of a different technique. Often he kind of takes a few steps forward and takes the ball high off of his platform, kind of off that mid-shoulder at times. He's running into it. That's a nice angle from Miles Partain. A lot of guys you'll see start at the service line in terms of serve reception, take a few steps into the court as the ball is about to be served, kind of getting that preparation ready. Lotman also passing that mile mark. See the few steps there. And that all starts from the service line and Paul Lotman.
Yeah, they've been putting pressure on Theo Brunner, and that initial pass not on the spot as it goes right over and so quickly. It's as if Miles Partain and Lotman, they prefer hitting that ball on the second contact.
And more tough serves. Back to back for Lotman, adding the pressure. It is set point for the number 6 seed. Lotman at the net. For the set. And just enough on it. The finesse in set 2 goes to Miles Partain and Paul Lotman.
Here's a look at that last play to end the second set. Lotman with a nice roll shot, and despite the double contact calls, Lotman and Partain victorious in that second set. And just as we thought, Cameron, we're going to get to go 3 sets.
Oh man, it's been a full weekend of volleyball as these teams have battled tough, and we face one more set. Paul Lotman and Miles Partain looking for their first title in their careers.
It's the choices we make that define us.
Tryon Trevor is coming off a tough, heartbreaking loss.
And ultimately, the enemy is within. Some people want it, some wish for it, but others make it happen.
Tryon Trevor is super lethal, bringing fire and passion to the court.
How will you take charge?
We all know it's a good idea to recycle. But what happens to that aluminum can or all that paper after you put it in the recycling bin? Where does it go? What does it become in its second life? See how WM is always working for a sustainable tomorrow at WM.com/stories.
Atlanta, a gorgeous place to hold a volleyball tournament, and that is true of this match right now. The men's finals, we have finished out 2 sets as we prepare for set number 3. Take a look at the set 2 stats between the number 1 and number 6 seed. Theo Brunner came Schalk versus Paul Lotman and Miles Partain. Set number 3 of the men's final underway. Miles Partain getting the heavy swing, the 20-year-old. Showing some force.
Yeah, that first set, it was all Brunner and Schalk who looked so sharp, and then Lotman and Partain really made some adjustments, started serving Theo a little tougher, and managed to win that second set. And they continue their game plan, going to Theo Brunner.
Well dug by Miles Partain. I'm not sure Lotman got a piece of that. Cameron Irwin up in the booth alongside Olympic gold medalist Dane Blanton.
Cameron, looking at what Brunner and Schalk have to do, they really need to just clean up their pass, and I think for them to win this, Brunner's going to have 2 blocks.
2 blocks, you heard it from the man himself. Miles Partain and Paul Lotman looking for their first title. The other side, Brunner and Schalk already have 1 in 2022.
Here's a back set. I like this a lot. Getting Brunner out of that left side. He's getting a little stagnant over there. You give the defense another look when you go on the back set.
How quick Miles Partain gets off the sand for that option. Sometimes it's remarkable. You don't even think the ball's above the height of the net.
This one's tough. Look, Theo Brunner is maybe halfway up to the net when that ball gets detonated by Miles Partain.
It's balance between getting that pass up there and beating the opposing block to the net.
Oh, Lotman gets caught in the net when Partain had a perfect dig.
Lotman had found some success late in set number 2 with his jump topspin serve going right up the middle towards Theo Brunner.
Here's a good look at Miles Partain, just 20 years of age, plays for the UCLA Bruins, a setter, a left-handed setter no less, so expect to see him on the national team indoor. He'll be able to do whatever he wishes.
Speaking of sets, there is a gorgeous one.
Check out the deception here. Looks like he's going to hit that ball. Big double arm lift, and then with no one up on the outside, setting up his partner perfectly.
Ooh, you gotta love a good jump set on the beach. Miles Partain. See again, there's that high angle from Theo Brunner. Finding the line. We played a 15 in set number 3.
Yeah, I think that they found something. Miles Partain and Paul Lotman continue to go to Brunner, putting all sorts of pressure on him, taking away his power cross court, tempting him to hit the line.
Just a week ago, these two teams not only met in the semifinal, but Theo Brunner and Kane Schalk made it to the final, having taken a loss to Try and Trevor. So back-to-back finals for them. 6-2 though, a strong start in set number 3 for Paul Lotman and Miles Partain. Talked about Miles Partain and what he brings to the beach volleyball game. Take a look at some of the numbers for this guy in terms of what he's accomplished in his career. The 2022 MPSF Player of the Year. He was a sophomore, Dane, just a sophomore for the Bruins.
Yeah, this kid can do everything. It's so fun to watch him. He's so focused. He's so locked in. We mentioned it earlier. He films all of his games with his iPhone, and then usually the first thing he does is run over and get his phone to go study more game tape. This guy's a student of the game.
His best finish has been those third-place finishes, having made 4 straight semifinals, now into the final, and looking for his first title. Miles Partain, again, out of Pacific Palisades, California. He's played alongside that man right there, Paul Lotman, for a few seasons now. And at first, it was so fun. You talk about the evolution of their partnership. Paul Lotman saying, hey, it was all about me mentoring in the beginning, but now the kid has just taken over. And he will hopefully look to take over through the 2022 AVP schedule onto Manhattan Beach, Chicago, as well as Phoenix, where the championships will take place come September 23rd and 24th. Your best finishes in the Gold Series are what qualify you into it. The 6-team competition, both on the men's and women's side. Quick set out of the middle, and again, the cross body.
Yeah, they're making it really difficult for Theo Brunner. He's looking a little bit uncomfortable. You see he's not hitting that ball at that highest point that he's used to, and they're trying to move Lotman around. But I think it's going to be up to Theo Brunner if they're going to be able to turn this thing around. Oh, another rough set. And no call that time. That was very interesting. That looked like a double right on the release. Came Schalk and Theo Brunner not happy about the no call.
There's a look at that set. Seven to 3 now. Lotman's been feeling his serve as of recent. Quick 2 steps. He didn't even step into that. That was wild. Perfectly placed by Kame Schalk. In terms of set location. Dane's looking at me like, what? He didn't hit that ball.
I like the fact that Brunner's running some back sets. I think that might get him going. The offense out near the antenna was getting a little bit stagnant.
Yeah. Good point. Jump set again. What does he do with it? He rips away. Back to the line, the lefty out of the middle.
Miles Partain, the youngster, the young gun. Fantastic on the beach as well as indoor. This guy can do it all. So fun to watch.
24 kills, 36 total attempts, hitting 528. Again, there's the quick offense. Lotman gonna check his face on that one.
Here's where the big question is, how are Theo and Kame going to score points right now? They're in a little bit of a hole, trailing 5-8, and they haven't really been able to score much after that first set. It's been all Partain and Lotman in control.
It's gonna be interesting to score a couple points defensively. Where is that gonna come? Will it be the Theo Brunner block? You said at the beginning of set number 3, he needed 2 in this set. There's one!
Theo Brunner doing what he does, getting his hands in position early. Not easy to block Miles Partain because of the range that he has.
2-point game. Seam ball.
When in doubt, go into that seam right there with a quick arm is Miles Partain.
Yeah, but I like that footwork to get there too. He passed that ball middle, moving to the right side, the side step to get there. Lateral shuffle and then quick feet in. And that's the big adjustment. You noted it. Not necessarily attacking from the outside, doing everything they possibly can to try and get Theo pushed a little bit more middle. There's quite a bit of space with that cutback.
Yeah, he's more comfortable with the cutback, having a little more real estate to deal with than the pure line shot when he's set out to the antenna.
Okay, just 13 attacks. It's recovered. Blowing him up, Miles Partain.
Second effort here, but look at this block by Brunner. He's got to be frustrated because it doesn't go down, and then Miles turns it around and blasts that ball. Brunner couldn't have done anything different on that throwback, but give a lot of credit to Miles. He covered it.
No quit in Miles Partain. Just 6 errors. Stepping into that and all the way to the right. Blocked again, but what a cover. Goes with the short ball. And they're gonna want that back. Paul Lotman and Miles Partain came to play in set 3.
Silly decision right there to go over with Miles Partain waiting in the wings. He just gobbled that ball up and was able to take care of it. Here's a good look. Partain throwing it up here. Nice pass by Brunner. And then Schalk tries to get tricky. Doesn't fool Partain, and Partain with a little double-fisted just celebration. You usually don't get much out of him, but he's starting to feel it right now.
I just love the second effort plays. We just saw back-to-back recovered balls blocked and then cycled back out, points going to Partain and Lotman. 11-7. And add a hitting error in.
Schalk trying to hit that deep corner and just missed. Lotman and Partain starting to feel it.
Working to the right, quick set. And man, if that consistency just continues to grow with offense like that, that's a team that's gonna make even more moves internationally. That's pretty deadly offense. Requires that pass and set, of course.
Hey, you're up.
There's that celebration you were talking about, Dane Blanton.
Love that. Love that right there.
Are you not entertained? Because Paul Lotman is. They have Atlanta. You hear the Lotman and Partain cheers coming from the stands. Tough serve to the sideline. Is there a net violation? Yes, there is. Theo Brunner went fishing. It is 14-8. Match point for Lotman and Partain. Looking for their first title here in Atlanta. Not so fast. They're going to have to earn it with a side out. Time to clear the sunglasses. Clear eyes before their first side out opportunity at match ball. A 20-year-old and an Olympian. They're going to give Lotman and Partain the shot. Here it is! Your Atlanta champions, Paul Lotman and Miles Partain. It took 3 sets sets against the #1 seed, a seed they had not defeated yet. Take a look at this last swing from Miles Partain.
Yeah, this was something special with a little exclamation point on it. Miles Partain, Paul Lotman finally on top after multiple semifinal appearances. You knew that they were knocking on the door, and this is going to be something special. Miles Partain, just 20 years of age, like you said. Paul Lotman, the Olympian in 2012. This has to be one of the biggest highlights in both of their careers, no question about it. This is a team to be reckoned with.
They took down the #1 seed who they lost to in the semifinals just a week ago. They finished 3rd in New Orleans, 3rd in Denver, 3rd in Hermosa, 3rd in Fort Lauderdale, but 1st in Atlanta. We're walking them over to their Kona brews because it's time for our Cheers to the Champs. Of course, brought to you by Kona Brewing. There it is. Your Kona Brewing Company. Cheers to the champs, Miles Partain and Paul Lotman, your 2022 AVP Atlanta Open champions. That's amazing. Miles can't even drink. He's 20 years old. All right, we'll get a chance to catch up with our champs just after this.
Dear mainland, aloha. My brother and I hear that most of you only disable your phones when you fly. You call it airplane mode. But maybe you don't have to get on a plane to get away, yeah? Allow my brother to demonstrate. You know what we call this? Kona mode. One life, right? Mahalo.
Longboard Island Lager and Big Wave Golden Ale from Kona Brewing.
Welcome to Atlanta, Georgia. Your Atlanta champions have been crowned. Miles Partain and Paul Lotman. They're down on the sand with Mark Sherman.
Miles and Paul. Boy, it's been a good year, hasn't it? 3 straight semifinals, then you get to a 4th, you make it to your first final, and that was pretty much it. Miles and Paul, you were so good in this match. You know what? Miles gave you a call a few years ago, Paul Lotman. How happy are you about that?
Pretty happy. Yeah. It actually wasn't a call, it was a very polite email.
That's right, yeah.
And I'm very happy that I accepted it.
Miles Partain, you were the youngest player since Scott Akatubby in 1984, who won a couple tournaments at under 20, but since then, at just 20 years old, the youngest in 40 years to win an AVP. How'd you do it, buddy?
I'm just so thankful. My parents have helped me so much, and just all the operations here and all the practices in Hermosa and just traveling around and getting to learn so much from Paul. And so many coaches have been so generous to me, sharing their knowledge, so I've been able to speed that up a bit rather than just learning from experience. So it's been so helpful to have all this support behind me.
Man, you do some really fun things on the court, Miles. You and your brother Marcus, you came out, you qualified for an AVP when you were 15, he was 17, and it was like, what are these kids doing, going on 2, faking people out? How'd you guys start doing that? Why did you start doing that?
We were pretty good at hand setting and smaller teams, so it helped get past the block, and then it really has a huge upside. It's kind of all based on execution rather than decision making. So whenever you can kind of check out of the chess game and just execute, it's much easier to win consistently. So
basically he's saying start practicing that, everybody, if you want to succeed, because you might have to play him. Yeah, setting, fake setting, all the things. And Paul, you came from the indoor side, an Olympian indoor. You made the transition to beach from an Olympian to an AVP champion. Talk about making the heights of both sports.
I never imagined I'd be here. I struggled in the qualifier for years, and I felt like, what am I doing? But this young man that I'm playing with, he's the future of our sport, and he's impressed me so much, how much he's matured. And, he's taught me a lot about myself, and, I'm just happy to be here.
Well, gentlemen, congratulations, along with Coach Mike Playcheck. I know how much this means to you. Put in so much work. Atlanta, your champions, Paul Lotman and Miles Partain.
You gotta love the camaraderie between these two, the age difference, but so much mutual respect. I love Paul Lotman saying right there, I didn't expect to be here, but so grateful to be here nonetheless. He's put the work in on the beach and it's shown up. As well as Miles Partain, 20 years old and the first-time champ alongside his mentor. You gotta love what's taken place right here in Atlanta. The champions have been crowned. Thanks so much for joining us. For our entire Echo Entertainment team, myself and Dane Bland, as well as Mark Sherman. We'll see you back on the beach.